Hello, welcome to Google DSC SIES student chapter. I am Anirudh Belwadi, the campus lead of this student chapter. Today, I will be demonstrating how to perform a lab in Qwiklabs. So let's go ahead and see. You need to go to qwiklabs.com. Click on join and sign in with your Google account. Once you have signed in, you need to search for the lab that you want to perform. Today, I will be showing the demonstration of a lab called How to Create a Virtual Machine. So I search for the lab and I get in the drop down. So I search for creating a virtual machine and there I go. This is the lab that I am going to demonstrate to you today. The lab page opens up and now you can see the different tasks that are listed that you need to perform in this lab. There will be score for every particular task. So here you have two tasks to be performed. One is creating a compute engine instance and add Nginx server to your instance with necessary firewall rules. And the second one would be create a new instance with gcloud. We'll take a look at how we can do that with the steps given in the lab. Let's go ahead and start the lab so that all our steps are recorded and our assessment is graded. So I'll click on Start Lab. I have a subscription that I can use to perform this lab. You can use the credits that you have and start this lab. On using the subscription, the credentials for my lab will be loaded. So I will get the username, password, and the Google Cloud Project ID listed here. Now I need to go to the Google console, the Google Cloud console. So now I will right click on Open Google Console and then click on Open Link in incognito window. It is always recommended to sign in the Google Cloud console through an incognito window. So I'll click on Next and you need to enter the password that is provided in the lab and not your personal email ID password. I copy the password and paste it here and then click on Next. Then you need to click on Accept. After clicking on Accept, you will be loaded the Google Cloud Platform welcome screen where you need to choose the country you are in currently. You can choose India and I will say I agree to the terms and conditions and say agree and continue. We have done and successfully logged in to the Google Cloud Platform. Let's take a quick look at what we need to do in this lab. If you scroll down, there will be an overview of the lab which you can read. Then there are some tasks that you need to perform which are listed. All labs here are beginner friendly. Now the setup has been done. We have already started the lab and opened it in an incognito window. Scroll down to activate Cloud Shell. Now you need to activate the Cloud Shell by clicking the button here in the navbar. So let us go to Google Cloud Platform and click the Activate Cloud Shell button. Once the Cloud Shell window is opened, you need to click on Continue. And then after some time, the Google Cloud Shell will be provisioned for you. And there you go, the Google Cloud Shell is activated and you can start typing commands here. Let's go back to the lab instructions and see what we need to do here. After scrolling down, there is a yellow text which comes up which will display your GCP project ID, which will be unique for everyone. So whenever you create a new instance of any lab, you will be provided with a username, password, and a unique GCP project ID. To list the active account name, you need to use this command. So click on copy and paste it in the Cloud Shell by pressing Ctrl V. Press enter and then click on authorize. Now you can see that the active account is the student02 and the different values that are coming here. Let's go back to the lab and see what we need to do next. So they have given a sample output which you can verify. Then you can list the project ID by using this command. So click on copy, paste it here using Ctrl V, enter, and then you can see your active configuration. Go back to the lab. You can see the sample output of this command. Let's take a quick look at regions and zones. There are different regions and there are different zones in different regions. So you can see the different regions that GCP has, that is Western US, Central US, Eastern US, Western Europe, and Eastern Asia. And each of these regions have different zones. So we can be using the GCP console in any particular region or any particular zone. So let's go ahead and see what these regions and zones are and where we will be using it. So the task 1 is up and we need to create a new instance from the Cloud Console. Read the instructions carefully and follow them so that you will not lose any assessment marks that you are going to be graded. So the first step is in the Cloud Console, you need to go to the navigation menu and then click Compute Engine VM Instances. Let's go ahead and do this. You search for Compute Engine and then VM Instances. The page for VM Instances is loaded. All the virtual machine instances that you create will be displayed on this page. Right now, we don't have any virtual machine instances, so there is no virtual machine displayed here. We will be creating a new one right now. Go back to the lab and follow the second instruction. To create a new instance, you need to click Create Instance. Let's click on Create Instance. A new page comes up where you will be asked some details about the machine that you are going to create. Let's go to the lab and see whether we have some instructions to create this virtual machine. There is a table given for the details that you need to enter for creating this new virtual machine. So the name should be GCE Lab, so you can select, press Ctrl C to copy, and then go to name and paste it using Ctrl V. Go back to the lab. You need to set the region as US Central 1 and zone as US Central 1F. So we took a look at the different regions and zone GCP has. So we will be selecting US Central 1 region and we will be selecting US Central 1F as the zone. So let's go ahead and do that in the lab in the GCP console. US Central 1 is already selected and US Central 1F is already selected. You don't need to do any changes here. Go back to the lab. Next is you need to choose the machine type. We will choose a series N1 machine type with 2 vCPU. Let's go ahead and see what we need to do here. And you need to take a look that we are going to use N1 standard 2 machine. Go back to the GCP console, scroll down, and series should be set to N1 and machine type should be set to N1 standard 2. Go back to the lab. Now you can see the boot disk is to be set at new 10 GB balanced persistent disk OS image Debian GNU Linux 10 Buster, and you need to allow HTTP traffic in firewall. Let's see how we can do this. You can see the boot disk section coming up here. The boot disk is already mentioned that we need to have 10 GB balance persistent. So there is 10 GB and new balance persistent disk, and the disk OS image is Debian GNU Linux 10 Buster, which is already selected. You don't need to do any changes here. Let's go ahead and check the firewall, allow HTTP traffic. Scroll down and you can see the firewall section where you can allow HTTP traffic. Then it says click on create. It will take some time to the VM instance to be created. You need to be patient so that the VM instance is created properly. You can click on refresh so that you can see the VM instance is already created. The status was loading and now the status is running. Congratulations, you have created your first VM instance. Let's go back to the lab and see what we need to do next. We need to click on SSH button so that we can connect to the virtual machine instance and make some changes that we want to do. Let's click on the SSH button which is given to us in the GCP console. Click on the SSH button here and a small window opens up where we can type in the commands in the SSH server. Go back to the lab where you can see the different instructions given for us to perform in the SSH. So the task 2 is to install an Nginx web server. So in the SSH terminal, you need to get the root access so that you can run the different commands that we are going to use in future in this lab. So let's get the root access by saying sudo su hyphen, copy the command and paste it in the SSH server window. Control V is what we use and then press enter. You have got this root access, that is the admin access for the SSH server. Go back to the lab and perform the commands that are listed inside the lab. Copy the command, paste it in the SSH server and then press enter. Go back to the lab, copy the command, paste it in SSH server and then press enter. Going back to the lab, now you need to confirm that the Nginx is running or not after the installation has been done. Let's copy this command and paste it in our SSH server, then press enter. You can see the list which has come up here and the expected output was given here, and you are getting somewhat similar here in the SSH server. Now You can see the external web page that you have created now using the Nginx server. Go back to the lab. You need to go back to GCP console and then click on hide info panel, and then you can see the external IP. Click on the external IP, which will load up a new page where you have created right now while installing Nginx. Let's go back to the lab. The default web page should be open like this, and you have the same output on your browser window. Let's see whether we have done this task perfectly or not. You need to click on check my progress. If all the tasks are done perfectly, there's a green tick coming up here. Let's go ahead and see what more steps that we need to perform so that we get a complete 100 on 100 assessment. Scroll down. You need to create a new instance with gcloud. Right now you used the GUI to create the virtual machine. Now we'll be using commands from the Google Cloud Shell to create a VM instance. Go back to GCP console and we will be using the Google Cloud Shell to create a virtual machine. Go back to the lab and copy the command which will create a new virtual machine for us. To explain this command, it says that we need to create a new instance which is named GCE Lab 2. The machine type will be N1 Standard 2, and the zone in which the VM machine is being created is US Central 1F. Let's press enter and it will take some time to create the VM machine. We can go back to the VM instances by clicking on VM instances here, and then if you click refresh, you can see the second virtual machine instance is already created and is listed in the VM instances section. GCE Lab 2 has been successfully created. Go back to the lab. Check your progress that you have created a new instance with gcloud or not. Click on check my progress. If you have done everything correctly, the green tick mark comes up. Now you can try out the lab. You have got a complete 100 on 100 assessment. If you want to try out some more commands that have given, you can wish to do so, or you can end the lab and say that you have completed this lab. So let's go ahead and end the lab and click on submit. You can give a rating to this lab and you can give an additional comments if you wish to, and click on submit. After this, you have completed this lab, and now to check your progress, you go back and then click on profile so that you can see that you have completed the lab called creating a virtual machine. It's right now that we have finished. Thank you for watching this and staying till the end. Appreciate your patience and looking forward for some questions. If you have, you can put it down in the comment box. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day ahead.